Okay, uh, let's go on and get started. So I'd like to welcome you to this webinar, Making Our Website More Accessible. And it's one of the many webinars that we work with Lindsay Sims McKee on this subject. She is the local expert. And so I am going to uh, just share a few slides with you about SCORE, as we are the host, and wanted to tell you that SCORE stands out as it's a vital resource for small businesses because it has the largest network of free volunteers in the country, 10,000 mentors. And this slide that you're viewing now emphasizes that no matter where a business is in its journey, whether you're starting off or you're already in existence and you're facing some issues, or maybe you want to enhance your growth, or you're maybe at that point where you're near retirement, SCORE is ready to provide guidance. Here's something to really think about. Research from the SBA, that's the Small Business Administration, indicates that small business clients who engage in more than 3 hours of mentoring experience, and that would be like 3 mentoring sessions, they see significant benefits, including increased revenues and enhanced growth. So, this slide talks about our code of ethics, which is something very important to each person associated with SCORE. Each volunteer is required to sign an agreement annually, ensuring they understand and adhere to these ethical standards. And the key points are that no SCORE member is permitted to take money in any way from SCORE clients. Volunteers must not use their clients' information or our database for any commercial purposes. And finally, all client information is confidential. So because of this code of ethics, you should feel very confident when you engage with a SCORE mentor. How does SCORE offer these services for free? Well, our work is supported by the SBA, the Small Business Administration. And then we also have local sponsors who believe that small businesses are the lifeblood of the community, and they are willing to support SCORE financially. And of course, there is the dedication of our 10,000 volunteers. And here's the QR code for our website. And there you'll be able to do many things, including find a mentor, become a volunteer. You can find hundreds of recordings of previous webinars. And there are so many other resources, such as templates for business plans, balance sheets, financial projections, and much, much more. So I encourage you to visit the website and see the many features that are available to you. So now I'm going to turn this over to Lindsay Sims McKee. And believe me, hold on to your seats because you are really in for a treat. Okay, Lindsay, I'm going to stop sharing.
And I'll take it away. Hello, everyone. Thank you so much, Gwen. So I am going to get going with us today. And for anyone who has been with us before, hopefully you'll remember how this normally works. So if you've been with me before, you know I'm a huge fan of using the chat as our main method of communication. So go ahead in the chat. I want everyone to tell me who you are. So Robert's already got us started. Who you are, where you are, and what your business is. So who you are, where you are, and what your business is. Go ahead and put it in the chat. There are a bunch of people here from all over, and so I'd love for y'all to tell me who you are. And if you're a repeat person, I mean, like some of y'all, I will remember your names. I actually do. Like Achina, I know I remember your name. But there's a few of you who I'm like, I don't know. Is that the same Harry? I don't know. And so go ahead in the chat, tell me who you are, where you're from, all that jazz. And like, wave to the other people in the room. Like we gotta like help each other out here. We gotta get to know each other. So thank you, James from Virginia. We got Ken, who's in Chicago, who is a first-time children's book author. Oh, this is good. Okay, great. And then Joan in Chicago, EWN Company, Amar from the Bay Area doing wellness, Maya's doing hair in Milwaukee. Okay, yeah, just keep it coming. We got Jane who's doing Christian empowerment. Love it. So yeah, tell me who you are. We got a few people in Ohio. Okay. For Windsor, the answer to your question is yes. So we will be sharing the recording after the session. And I think Gwen is also going to put this up on YouTube after the recording. So there you go. Belinda, who's in Michigan doing rehab services for people with disabilities. Okay. Benetti in Ohio doing mental health. So yes, this is for websites, but we're going to talk about a bunch of stuff, right? And so okay, I'm like, yes, this is for websites, not about YouTube or anything like that. So Lourdes is teaching Spanish. Okay, I promise no matter what you came here for, you're gonna get something out of it. Okay? This is all I'm saying. No matter what you came here for, you're gonna get something out of it. So this is all about website. It says more accessible. It's more accessible like online. And so when I say it's, make it more accessible, it's just websites in particular. So I will be asking a few of you to volunteer and like give me information so that we can kind of jump in and talk about your different businesses and all that. So yeah, they're about websites. Memory Maker in Chicago. Okay, let's jump into it. I'm Lindsay. Hi, everyone. I'm waving to you. I'm Lindsay. I did not put my slide in this deck. For some reason, I just didn't think to do it. I am your Grow with Google coach for Ohio. And if you are under the sound of my voice right now, I am your personal Grow with Google coach. So, hey, how you doing? It's good to see you. And we are going to talk about websites today. We're going to talk about accessibility, and we're going to talk about how actually doing the accessibility stuff is actually really, really useful because doing the accessibility stuff makes your website also more searchable. So we will discuss that, and we will discuss whatever other questions you all have as we move forward in, doing this workshop. So what is the agenda today? We're going to talk about what accessibility is, what designs means for accessibility, what our best practices are, what's physical accessibility have to do with any and all of this stuff. And one of the things that I like to remind everyone of is because this is a workshop about accessibility, and a lot of people get like weird, like, well, what percentage of the population is disabled? And the answer is actually at some point, and this is crazy, when I learned the statistic a long time ago, I used to work in disability services for a nonprofit organization. And the truth is, 100% of people, specifically Americans, this is American data, 100% of Americans will be disabled at some point in their life. Now, you might be like, what do you mean disabled at some point in your life? I'm like, disabled meaning that you will have some sort of ability difference at some point. Maybe it's a broken arm, a broken leg, maybe it is a sprained ankle, maybe it is hip surgery that you're recovering from, maybe it is any number, elbow surgery, shoulder surgery, like broken fingers, car accidents. There are a number of reasons why people end up with either permanent or temporary disabilities. And so the idea of hell, even when we think about disabilities like visual disabilities, like what I'm going to talk about today, a lot of those, or hearing disabilities, again, a lot of us will either have one at some point temporarily or acquire one as we age. And so, yes, that is disabilities are with everybody. Like it's just a thing. And we need to, if we're trying to reach our population of people, we need to be trying to be able trying to be visible to all people at all times, right? So if you have a website, you want your website to be useful to everyone, regardless of their current state of ability. And believe me, that actually helps a ton. So if we think about accessibility not as a thing that we're doing for disabled people, and instead making it so that it's about perceiving, understanding, navigating, and interacting, then we change the game. Like instead of it being like, oh, we have to do this thing for people who are disabled, we think, no, we need to make sure that our website is easy to be perceived, understand it, navigate it, and interact with it. And if we do that, then that will inherently make it able for people who have assistance needs to use it. And then, of course, there's all the assistive technology that we can use that will actually help people as well. Now, disabilities impact over 1 billion people in the world. Like when I say disability of some sort, first of all, like most people are unaware of how staggering the numbers are. 15% of the world's population are permanently disabled, meaning that they experience a permanent disability that is with them all the time. 26% of adults in the US have a disability. And then it is $6 trillion worth of spending power. 6 trillion. Again, not thinking about this as like something that only happens to some people. This is something that touches a lot of people. And if we make things more accessible, then it helps everyone. I love that Denny is like, I have heard this before. Like, if we make things more accessible to everyone, it is useful to everyone, period. Like, that's the idea. So when we're building our websites for accessibility, we're going to do it based on universal design. And when I say our websites, I don't just mean our websites. I also mean your social media content and things like that. And I'm going to talk about that as well, because I think a lot of times we forget that social media, especially if we're using it for marketing our business, is not naturally accessible. And so there are some things that we can do to make social media more accessible to people who are using assistive technology all the time. And we'll talk about that. So what we want to do is make sure that whatever we're doing is allowing people to engage without any barriers, period. You want to expand your market to include anyone who could give you money, because I don't know about y'all, but I think that pretty much everyone in here wants the money of anybody who wants to give it to them. So if you are creating a business, or if you have a business right now and your business is not accessible, then you are actually stopping someone somewhere from giving you money, right? And we do not want to do that. Now, then the other thing, of course, is that it actually lowers your legal risk, because we do have laws about making things accessible. And some of those laws are very like applied to everyone, and others of them only apply to certain businesses at a certain level. And so what we want to make sure that we're doing is essentially removing risk from ourselves by putting ourselves in the position to be as accessible as possible, and to make sure that we are doing what we can when people do reach out to us because they need assistive technology. Okay. So let's talk about universal design. Number one, the elements of universal design, if you're going to take a screen grab or anything like that, it's going to be this. And we're going to go over these things because, like I said, everything that you see here is basically the tenets that we need to be following to make SEO, or search engine optimization, happen for our businesses as well. So the first one is image descriptions. The second one is alt text and descriptions. The third is color contrast. The fourth is design techniques. The fifth is text formatting and headers. Six is seventh. Six is seven. Six is text linking, which we're going to talk very much about. And then seven is video captions. So all of these things are a really good way for us to make technology assistive, like to actually make the stuff that we're doing on a regular basis more accessible. And for each of these, we're going to talk about what kind of population is using them and why we need to focus on accessibility for that population. So at the beginning, before we jump into this, I want to know, how would you describe this image? So in the chat, I'm going to give you a second, and I want you to tell me what you see. So I'm going to drink my beverage, my warm beverage in a mug, and I want you to tell me what you see on the screen. So go ahead in the chat, tell me what you see. I love the first answer, Rumi. That was good. Okay, Belinda, hot cup of coffee. What else did we see? Coffee. Keep them coming. White mug with a dark liquid on a saucer with a teaspoon. Self-care, comfort. Cup of coffee. What else? A cup of black coffee on a saucer with a spoon. A cup ready to be eaten with a cake. Maya, you're with me. Who else is not eating dinner yet? That's me. Black coffee with a mug and a spoon. Relaxation. Okay, so you all you're doing exactly what I was hoping you would do. A tea. Maureen, tea or over Ovaltine. I love that. Ovaltine. Yeah, so it is whatever beverage in some sort of mug. Now, the reason why we ask this question is because there's a bunch of different ways. So, and a lot of you automatically got it. Like when you said relaxation or comfort or whatever, there are a lot of reasons why you might use a picture like this on your website. And yes, it's blurry. Rumi, it's blurry, period. Like, it's a blurry picture. So, I mean, like, it's just not a good quality picture. But if you only upload a picture to your website and you don't give it any alt text at all, then the only text associated with the picture is the cup.png, like whatever you named it. And I don't know if y'all are like a normal person and you don't rename all your pictures. And so it might even be 1.13457-3330.png because you didn't name it. And so it just created, or June 6th, 2024 is the name of the picture because that's when it was taken, right? And so at that point, that picture to anyone using a descriptive text, a descriptive or assistive device, isn't going to be able to understand what that picture is. And for us, everyone here, you have a few ways of thinking about this picture. You can do it with a description of the picture in alt text. You can do it with a description of the picture in a caption. You can do any number of things that help people see and understand exactly what is in this picture, even if they cannot visibly see it, or if they have some sort of visual disability that doesn't allow them to see it clearly. Okay, not just see it at all, but see it clearly. Okay, so when we talk about what an alt text is and all that, you're probably like, what does that even mean? So I would love for someone to volunteer for me to look at their website. So if you want to look at your website, go ahead, type your web address in the chat. I already said I'm gonna go ahead and use you all as examples, but I only do it based on volunteers. So whoever wants to have me look at your website. Don't raise your hand, Robert. Just put your thing in the URL in the chat because I can only click on it. There we go. We got Kim. Kim was the first. Oh, Robert, technically, I think you were the first one because you put yours in the chat way earlier. I'm going to use Kim right now. I'll come back to you, Robert. Make sure it, of course, it didn't copy Kim. And I'm definitely not going to try to type that in. Oh, man. And see if it'll paste. It is not pasting. I'm going to have to type. Okay, Kim Co International. Did I get that right on the first try? I think I might have Kim. Kim Co International, Kimberly Thomas. I got it right. Is this your website? Please tell me it is. Okay, because I typed it in. Okay, Kim Co International, typed it right the first time. Y'all, I'm dyslexic, so whenever I type something right the first time, I'm just like shocked. Okay. So we have a few images here that are coming up on the screen. This is a rolling text image. And when I hover over this image or click on it, I am not getting any alternate text. When I hover over this image here of this family, I am also not getting any alt text, or this image here. So thank you, Kim, this was a good example. This picture here where it says Kim Thomas, maximize Social Security, generate retirement income, and get the undisputed facts about annuities, that is a really good text. But one of the things that everyone here needs to understand is that the internet can't read text on a picture. It can only read the text on the screen. So the text on the screen says taxes in retirement, watch our free webinar to see how much you can save in retirement. That is the only text that any internet reader can read. It cannot read the image on the text. So if someone is using a internet assistive device, the only text that they have is the text that is on the screen. And so, what alt text provides for us is the ability for someone who is using an assistive device to actually understand what the pictures are saying, especially if your pictures mean something. And honestly, every picture on your website should have a job. It should be doing a job. And so if the picture is doing a job, what job is that picture doing? And then the image text needs to basically explain that to people. So back when we were looking at that picture of a coffee cup, if I was selling coffee for a coffee shop, then I might have the picture say, our most robust Arabica blend is what, because I'm selling coffee, I'm not selling the mug. If I am a website that is selling the mug itself, then I might say fine bone china, made in 18, whatever the date is, 1492 in the Chinese province of Jiangxing. Like, we're gonna like say all the things about this china if I'm selling the china. If I'm selling the coffee shop, then I will say something like, come in for our our coffee, a nice cozy cup of coffee in our shop, right? That would be the alt text for that image. So you're going to make the text appropriate to what you're doing. And so the reason I'm so glad this is Kim's business is like selling retirement and tax planning is because the pictures all have a meaning. But if you're Kim and you're doing your website, you might be thinking, well, no, they don't. But yes, they do. Every single picture has a meaning. This is a happy retired couple spending time with their family, spending time with their grandkids. That is the alt text for this picture. And that is a way for, like, peaceful, relaxed family after tax planning, whatever the term is that you want to use. But that could be what this picture represents, right? Because you get to add the text to it. Now, in addition to an assistive reader reading the text, the other thing that is reading the text is Google, right? So an assistive reader is reading the text, but so is your friendly neighborhood robot that is reading your text, like the actual, spiders that crawl the internet to read text. That's what they're doing. And so you want to make sure that you have alt text because it actually helps it be readable to the internet, because the internet, and when we put it plainly, does not read pictures, it only reads words. And so your search engines are not reading the pictures that are on your website, they're reading the words. And if I can actually recall a few of your businesses as you were putting your businesses in there, a few of your businesses, it makes complete sense that you would have a lot of pictures on your website, right? So I got the memory maker. We got like a bunch of y'all did the puzzle man. I'm assuming that your puzzles are very visual. Hairstylist is very visual. Food businesses are very visual. And so you might have a bunch of pictures on your website, and each of those pictures need to be represented with text, because otherwise those pictures don't mean anything to Google. They also don't mean anything to assistive devices that are reading text for a consumer who is using it because they cannot see the screen. They also want your help. And for Kim, accidentally, she happens to also serve a population of people who age into disabilities. And so there may be people who are looking for retirement planning and tax planning, but they are themselves losing their vision, and so they are unable to see small text. And we're going to come back to your website in a second because there's also a contrast issue on here. They might be unable to see small text, and they definitely would want to use an assistive device like an audio reader. And nowadays, audio readers are so easy. You can just tell your phone, SIRI, read this web page to me, and it will do it. But it will only be able to read the words. It won't be able to read the pictures. Does that make sense to everybody? I hope this makes sense to you. So the reason why we're doing this is not just because occasionally someone might use an assistive device, but actually a lot of people, if you're in your car and you're looking up an article, you could do that entire process. You're looking for something on your website, You could do that entire process by voice now. You can have SIRI, y'all know I can't say the word, right? You can have SIRI look up a website for you, read the entire website to you, pull out certain phrases for you, all of those things. But if your website person who owns the business doesn't have the right words on it, it might be confusing to someone who's using that kind of assistance to read. Okay. Okay, good. I'm guessing y'all good. I've never considered that. Okay, good. Now, in addition to putting up the idea of like alt text, there's also captions. Captions are a really good way to like put an image description with the image. You can put captions on the top, on the left, on the bottom, it doesn't matter. And a caption is actually visible on the screen as text. Now, to make sure that it is a caption, I'm going to go back to Kim's website, and you see this text right here above Kim's picture. A caption would not be considered, that would not be considered a caption. A caption would be maybe at the lower third of this image there might be a caption, or right underneath the image there would be a caption telling us what that image is meant to represent. And almost every website provider allows you to caption images. You can caption almost any image on your website. And even with this rolling scroll here, you can either caption these or add alt text to every single one of these images, especially because for Kim, her text rolls with the swipe. So it changes. We got risk-free tax consulting, taxes and retirement, and then financial security. So each of these pictures essentially means a different thing, and she can have alt text going with each of those pictures or captions going with each of those pictures. And now your website is getting more and more robust, and you're adding more words for the search engines to latch onto, and you're also adding more words for someone who's using an e-reader or a device, a reading device, to actually latch onto as well. So it's one of those very, very useful things. Longer descriptions are good, especially if you have something like Kim's business where your business is maybe a little bit difficult for people to understand. You might want to have pictures that have a little bit longer description of what that picture is actually representing. Now, let's talk about contrast. I said I was going to stay on Kim's website for a second before I move off. I'm going to go to Robert's because I would literally put his website up very first thing. So I'm going to go one more thing about Kim's website, and that is contrast. One of the challenges that is extremely common in our society is color blindness. We all take it for granted because, first of all, we can't tell what other people see. Like you can only see what your eyeballs see. Like you can't see what someone else's eyeballs see. And so there are often people who are walking around with a degree of color blindness and they just don't know until someone does a comprehensive color blindness challenge with them. And I work with a lot of business owners, and the amount of them who discovered in their adulthood that they were colorblind is amazing. They didn't become colorblind, they were always colorblind. They just didn't know that they were colorblind because they could see color, but they couldn't see contrast. And so that's the challenge, is that if your contrast is too low, colorblind people won't necessarily be able to read what is on your page. And so you want to make sure that your contrast is high, because color blindness is weird. And again, it's not universal. So some people think that there's the only kind of color blindness is red green, and that is not true. So red green color blindness is just one type of color blindness, but almost all color blindness comes with the issue of contrast. So if you have a website, when you have your website, all of you, think about contrast. Low contrast is bad, high contrast is good. And I would even say this kind of light pink on the dark is a little bit too not contrasty enough. I would turn that light pink all the way to white, because the more contrast you give it, the better. And unless you have a reason for this contrast to be low, like you're doing something aesthetic, meaning you have a specific look that you're going for, and it doesn't matter because the words are not important, which I don't know why the words wouldn't be important. Why would you put them on your website if they weren't important? Then that sort of thing is the only reason why you wouldn't care about contrast. But the reason why I said I'm going to go back to Kim is because if I had a contrast issue, I would have a hard time reading these words because the picture behind it is too bright. And so for Kim, even though I can see the attempt was made to make the picture a little bit more gray, for every picture, it's a little bit grayer, a little bit darker, but it's not dark enough to the point where if I'm just glancing at this, I wouldn't be able to read it. And I do use an assistive device for my eyeballs. I use glasses all the time. I have very poor vision. I have like normal people poor vision. I'm like a -5. So all of you who also have bad vision, you know what I mean when I say I'm a -5. Like -5 is horrible. So I have like horrible vision. I can't do anything without my glasses. And even with my glasses, if I'm far enough away, I cannot see what something says. Like my glasses only get me close to 20/20 at the right distance. So, but y'all, like at a glance, this is not high enough contrast for someone who has a visual disability. Okay. So all of us need to be thinking about that. And when I say visual, again, I don't even mean like regular need glasses. I mean like anybody who's colorblind or has a contrast visibility issue. Okay. So contrast, big issue. And then when you're thinking about other design features, I want us to consider all of the things like the thickness of the lines that we're using, the patterns that we're using. Do the patterns mean something? If we're using dashes, do the dashes always mean the same thing? Are the colors always conveying the same meaning? So if you're using colors on your website, do the colors always mean the same thing? So if you have a button that's blue on your website, is that button a learn more button and all of the learn more buttons are blue? Like, do you see what I'm doing here where like everything means something? If you're going to use textures, the same texture is used. So a lot of people would like to use textures on their website. You might use like crinkle paper texture or other types of textures. Do they mean something? Because if they mean something, it's really useful. If they don't mean something, you might consider whether or not that visual element is necessary. Because if you're using it to make a difference for people who have visual disabilities, it's going to ring like all of these things mean something. Where the reality is, it's actually just kind of making the website not usable for them because there's too much going on and it doesn't all have meaning. I don't know if any of you are old enough to remember the bad old days of websites like GeoCities, and we used to create websites ourselves back in the old days of the internet in the like late 90s. And everyone had like cats and rainbows, and like their website would like open up with a sprinkles or whatever, confetti. All of that, don't do that. Like even if you feel like you know how to do those things now, don't do that because it actually makes your website a lot harder for people to understand. So when I was just saying like colors, contrast, shapes, lines, dashes, all of those things, yes, if you're using a graph or a chart, you do need to care. But you also, like I said, just need to care. Oh, I love that. Denny is like, I remember exactly what you're talking about. Black backgrounds with bright neon colors. But yes, like everything needs to mean something on your website because if it doesn't mean something, it makes it a lot harder for assistive devices to understand what your website is doing. So everyone needs to be going through with what I'm saying here and thinking about how am I going to evaluate my current website to think about what each of the things means. So again, going back to Kim's website, we have the kind of tealish blue appointment button that goes darker blue, which I think fits kind of with the branding here. And y'all, I am a huge fan of using your brand colors to be the differentiator, but you just need to determine set and appointment buttons are always going to be this teal blue color. They're not going to switch back and forth on different pages. They're going to be the same. Learn more buttons are always going to be white. And then when they are white, they're going to go to gray or black with white text, right? They're going to always do the same thing. We're not going to have 4 different types of buttons with multiple colors. So just even on this home page, we have 1, 2, 3, 4 different buttons that are all different shapes, like 2 different shapes, 4 different colors. And I'm not sure if those colors, and that's not including the send button on the form, I'm not sure if those colors mean anything, right? And so you want to make sure that when you're using your, oh, 5, I didn't scroll far enough, 5, and that one's also in a different color. And so we want to make sure that all of these colors mean something. And if they don't, then make them mean something. So if for Kim right now, she didn't do any of this on purpose, it just is what it is, great. everywhere you use the download button, it needs to be that dark gray to black everywhere. And then now you have a pattern that you're following all the time. And then for your buttons, the rest of your buttons on your homepage, again, what do you want them to mean? And how do we make sure that they make sense to your user? Okay, so that you're not switching it up and confusing people and confusing the reading devices as well. Okay, so now we're going to talk about the big things like text and headers. And I'm going to switch to Mr. Puzzleman's website. So I'm going to I'm going to type it into, let's be brave, mrpuzzleman.com. Okay, Mr. Puzzle Man. I knew it was going to be about puzzles. Okay, so Mr. Puzzle Man Robert. We're going to go to Robert's website. Robert, have you been making okay, you're driving and the website is new. Okay, well, why did you want me to choose you, Robert? I don't want you to be driving. So I'm still going to do it. So when we talk about, because you have the recording, Robert, do not look at the screen, look at the road. And then I will talk you through all the different things. And everyone here can take really good examples. So this is great because Robert has a e-commerce site and Kim has a non-e-commerce site. Kim's site is for a consulting business, and that's basically you guys in a nutshell. You're half and half. Half of you are consulting and half of you are doing e-commerce and stuff like that. And so we have really good examples from these two. Now, with an e-commerce site, there's a few things happening on this site instantly before we even get into the text issue. The first thing when we get into the like tech header text and all that is that all of this text up here is way too small. This was written and designed clearly by a young person. I'm going to assume, Mr. Robert, that you are in your 20s because this is small. And like anyone in their 40s is reading this with what is it, a magnifying glass. Like anyone 40 and up is like, I can't read that at all. So you want to make sure that your website is readable at a glance by anybody. So all Robert needs to do is take the text for his menu up several notches. He needs to be maybe 3-4 points up from where it is right now. It is too small. And then the header here to get to the main point before I've even scrolled, and I don't know what this website is about except for that it's about puzzles. Create your custom puzzle today. Email me your picture, Bobby at Mr. Puzzleman. Bobby, I love that, Robert. Bobby at MrPuzzleman.com. Exclamation point. That is his header text. The text that comes at the very top of your website is your header text. That is the text that an e-reader, an assistive device, I'm calling them e-readers, but I mean the internet is reading it. Uh, okay, good, Robert. So the internet is reading this text. And when the internet reads the text, it reads it from the top of the website to the bottom. But more importantly, it starts at this thing called an H1 tag. And so if you are designing your own website, so Robert looks like he's designing his own website. I should say Bobby, because now we know you call yourself Bobby. So Bobby is designing his own website. And with that, he needs to make sure that this text here that's in the quotes is the H1. And I'm going to say something a little radical for everyone who's like, that's the first thing that Bobby has on his website that an e-reader is going to read. Actually, Bobby, this is genius. Don't change it. So if anyone ever says to you, oh my goodness, why do you have a call to action the very first thing on your website? Well, Bobby, it is clear to me that you do custom puzzles. It is clear. From the second I land on this website, I know that if I send Bobby a picture, he can turn it into a puzzle. And if I don't have a picture, I can shop. And that is it. Now, I would say, Bobby, basically keep this entire thing the same. I would not change any of it, except for that I would make this create your custom picture a little bit bigger. Like I'd make the text thicker. So you might want to, if it doesn't really need to be bigger, but maybe it could be bolded so that the lines are a little bit thicker so that they're easier to see with the background. So the background is a kind of darkish brown background. And this is a huge opportunity for alt text because it was for the mobile. Okay, so you created when it's on mobile, it's bigger. Make sure you redesign it for the landing for the homepage because 50% of your customers are mobile. The other 50% are not. And so you want to make sure that it works for both audiences, people on mobile and the people who are not on mobile. And if it doesn't, okay, so you might we that's a coding issue because there's basically no website provider that you can't change it to make it look good in both. We'll have to work on that, Bobby. That's a real issue because you shouldn't have it so that it doesn't look good on one, but it looks good on the other one. And make sure it looks good on both. Okay. And then for as far as where the text is on the page, I will say this is not an assistive technology issue. This is just a user issue. Again, on the website. So this might not work this way on Bobby's mobile version of his site, his responsive version, but on this version of the site with I'm just looking at it like a person on a regular screen, there's too much room between this and when I scroll what I see next. So everything else is just way too much room. So I would make sure that I like make that a little bit tighter so that there's not so much room there. And then make sure you give this image alt text where it's like memorial puzzle for a veteran, for a veteran grandfather or whatever this picture is, right? So whatever that picture is, it needs to have alt text because believe me, that is going to give someone a great idea for a puzzle. But as much as I can see that this is a man in uniform and some kids' hands on top of it, I like it looks like a kid's hand and an adult arm. I know that most people are not going to be able to see that because they just don't, like their eyes won't translate that information. And so you want to make sure that you label it so that their eyes can translate that information, right? And so, and then the other thing I would say is that Bobby's also missing an opportunity to give us a little bit more information because Bobby, I am a big fan of my favorite statement, and if you've been here before, you probably know what it is. People are stupid, and so if you don't have enough information, you're going to get really bad requests from people. So with this, create your custom puzzle, Bobby, you have the opportunity to put in a little bit more text under that says something about like file size or dimensions or colors or something so that people who are like, but my picture is a picture of a picture from my grandma's house, and I don't know if that's gonna work, or do you crop or whatever. They're gonna have a bunch of questions, and I'm not saying you should answer all of them, but even if below it says frequently asked questions about pictures, click here. Something like that. And then it gives people a way to find out the answers to their questions because people are, again, kind of not bright when it comes to when it comes to stuff like this. So you guys get the idea on all of your websites. The information at the top of the website needs to be the most important information on the website. If it is not the most important information, if it is not the clearest information, you need to change your web page. The other thing I'm going to give Mr. Puzzleman, and this is a critique for him, he does not have, he's still working on it. He's still building the website, which I can see. And I love that it's Shopify because I know Shopify has the ability to modify everything I just said. In this section right here, where it says featured products, Mr. Puzzleman, Bobby, needs to put some text because the text is what's going to tell people, the reader, the e-reader, the reading assistive reading device, what this web page is about. The text is also going to tell Google what this web page is about. And right now, there is not nearly enough text on this website. And so because there's not enough text, an e-reader is not going to know what this website is about unless you give it more text. And I mean specifically on the homepage. You might have text other places on the website. You've got a blog, all that, but you've got to have the text on the homepage. And so for everybody who is like, okay, let's go back to Kim's website. Kim has some good text. Welcome to Kimco International. Working with individuals and families are the hallmark of our firm. This website is your great way to financial independence. Now, Kim, the thing that you are not doing correctly is that you're working with families and individuals, and then the word retirement needs to be somewhere in that first sentence because this is a website that is all about helping people with retirement and financial planning. If that is the case, then working with families and individuals to help them plan for their financial independence in retirement is the hallmark of our firm. Period. You can get rid of that second sentence. So, and then our mission is to help families break. So then that way, the internet is reading it, the SEO, Google is reading it, but then so are the assistive devices. And they go, oh, this is for me. I'm trying to plan for retirement. I'm trying to plan for my financial independence. And I know exactly what this website's going to do that. So every single one of us needs to be making sure that our website reads like a story. So if you couldn't read your website from top to bottom and have it all make sense, then you need to go back and rewrite your website so that it reads like right, top to bottom, left to right, like a story. Like a really good story that all makes sense. If it doesn't all make sense and it couldn't be read, or better yet, I'm going to challenge y'all to have SIRI read your website to you. How about that? And if what you get back is clearly not clear, not clear at all, then you know you have work to do. Does that make sense? Is everybody going to go do that? Could put a one in the chat if you're going to have your assistive device, SIRI, or whichever one. Go ahead. Yes, please do it. Have them read your website, because then that will help you go, oh, there's something missing. Oh, it doesn't say what I thought it said. Yes, right? I don't have a preference, Denny, to whatever, but like giving yourself, yes, Monique, fresh eyes. And yes, you guys know, y'all know I can't say the word. I can't say it. So if I say it, then all sorts of devices are going to start going off. So yes, have it read. Yes, and your client sites, Chantrice. That is a great idea. Have it read your client sites. Okay, now let's talk about text links. So I already said before that you need to have the text links need to be on point. Now, the challenge that most of us have is that we have text links that say things like, visit this link for free training, or click here, and that's it. The button is click here for free training. And it doesn't say anything about where I'm going or what's going to happen when I click. So let me go back to, let me use another website. Who else gave me their website? I had CST Training. Is it CSTC? CSTC training.com. I hope that's right. CSTC Training, Customer Service Training Center. Is that you? Is that you, Belinda? Is that you? Because if it is, then I'm keep going. Yep. Okay, good. So Belinda's website. Oh, I love this. Belinda, you've won my heart already with your logo in the middle and the split menu. Oh, love it. Oh, and you even have the little assistive device reader. You have the accessible menu. Belinda, you came prepared. Okay, so first, we don't have alt text on this image. So we need to get alt text on that image. Like, that's first things we need to do. Welcome to Customer Service Training Center. Ah, Belinda, you did that reads like a real sentence. Welcome to Customer Service Training Center. We offer vocational training and job placement services to adults with disabilities from all walks of life. We understand that the path to re-entering the workforce isn't always straightforward. That's why y'all, that's why we offer customized one-to-one in-depth training, whether it be basic, intermediate, or advanced. Belinda, you're doing it. Okay. So I love this. And then it has view the company video or contact us. Now, I would have a few things that I do differently immediately. Like, you don't need your social media links. Plus, they're dead. These links are dead. I don't know if you know that. These links don't go anywhere. So I wouldn't have my social media up here at the top, because it's just too many buttons for people to click on, and they will just click away. Like, they'll click on everything, and then you'll never get them to sign up for anything. And then 2 calls to action at the top. So with Bobby, his call to action makes sense. Upload or shop. You're either going to customize something, and even with the upload, I would say order, Bobby, you could put in here, order your custom puzzle. Your button doesn't have to say upload. You can change what buttons say. And so you can have order a custom puzzle on your button, and then shop now, shop all. That's great. So if you got predetermined puzzles for you, Belinda, I don't know if I'm trying to get people to do 2 different things. There we go. So do we want them to contact us, or do we want them to watch this video? Whichever of the 2 things is your true priority needs to be the thing that they do. And I will genuinely say the vast majority of contact us pages are very poorly used. And so I would not necessarily have it be contact us. I would give them some other call to action, like call us or email us or do something else, because filling out the form on your contact us page is just not something that most people are going to be interested in, especially because I don't know about y'all, but recently in the past year, I have filled out several contact us pages because I'm currently looking for a contractor in Northeast Ohio who can do remodels on homes, and no one ever responds. And so, so now I'm just jaded and I don't want to fill out the contact us form. And so, like, it becomes a barrier for some people. Okay. So, I love that. Mine doesn't even work. See, that's what I'm saying. Like, just remove it. Don't put it up there. Like, have them watch the video. Just remove that button altogether. Again, when we get here, why choose us? Belinda's got customized training, one-on-one engagement, 100% remote, complete in 4 to 8 weeks, experts in job placement, no cost to participant. Okay, so Belinda has all of these things here: call center or professional certificates, job seeking skills, all of the things, customer service, what we do. Learn more. Now we get to the part where we are trying to figure out what it is that we want people to do. This learn more button needs to be way more specific. So this page goes to, I can see down at the bottom, what we do. And so what this could say is not just learn more, it could say read more about what we do. I think you all think that buttons need to have 2 words or 1 word, and they don't. You can have a sentence on your button, because the more clear your button is, the more likely people are going to click on it. If it says what I'm going to experience on the other side of that button, people are more likely to click on it. Learn more doesn't say enough. And then here, your learn more is about us. So this button could be learn more about us, period. Like, that way you know that you're going to the about us page, because I am savvy enough to hover over this button and see what it says under, like, where it's going. But most people are not. And or if they're on a mobile device, the mobile device doesn't let you do that. You have to click on the button to find out where it goes. And so please give people the option. And then back to the same thing with alt text. You need to have alt text on all these pictures. Because they're all doing a job. Every picture on this website is doing a job, and you need to have all of these pictures labeled with alternative text so that they are doing the job that you want them to do. And then even here where it says 5-star reviews from customers, this is great, but the text needs to say 5-star reviews from customer. And I would even say, like, if you have a number of those 5-star reviews, I would even say, like, this many 5-star reviews from customers, and then that's what we do. Like, everyone, like, people love us, right? And then what our programs include, and then you have all of these all this information here. Now, some of those, look, I've got some deception going on because some of these look clickable and some of these don't. And I'm just wondering if that means that some of them are clickable and some of them are not. Okay, you tried to fix some things. I got it. And then, of course, you have all of the logos and things like that at the bottom of the page. All of those also need alt text, because if they don't have alt text, then people won't be able to read that that's about NABO or Southfield Area Chamber of Commerce or the American Counseling Association. They won't be able to read any of that because the assistive reader can't read pictures, right? Okay, but Belinda, I'm glad that you're trying to fix things as we're going. You don't have to. You can just come back and watch it later. Like, you can watch this later. So you all have a really good idea of, like, what are some of the basic things that we can do to make sure that our buttons are text. And if you're going to hyperlink something, make sure that it is as clear as possible what you're sending people to. Use your words. Now, the last thing I'm going to suggest, and there are several people in here who I can tell have videos that go with their businesses just based on what you do. You need to make sure that you are using captions with your videos. Now, this bridges us over to social media too, because if you're not using captions, then people like me, who I literally always have the volume turned all the way down on my phone, if people are not using captions, I can't read their reel. I'm like, I want to laugh. I want to have fun with everybody else. The only way that I am getting this information is if it's in a caption. And so if you don't put captions on your content, then people like myself who are not like, I don't need assistive hearing technology. I just simply don't want to listen to it on my phone, especially because I think you all know that I'm a working human person. I have stuff I'm doing during the daytime. And so I can't just be scrolling spontaneously on my Instagram and have loud noises coming out of my phone. Like my students wouldn't appreciate that, right? And so if they're taking a test and I'm on Instagram, I'm not on audio, right? Or like we might feel like, oh, well, no one watches Instagram at work. Well, yes, they do. They do all the time. And so like make sure that you have the assistive technology on, like a caption to help people understand what the content is about. But captions don't just work for that. Captions work for a lot of things. So you can also use captions, and enabling them on YouTube is one of my favorite, easiest things to get captions, but you can get them captioned and then you can pull your captions, you can pull your closed captions off of YouTube and use them everywhere else. So if you're a video first person and you like creating videos like this, and you're like, man, I give out videos and there's so much great information in the videos that I create. Well, now you can actually take the transcripts of those videos via captions and turn them into blog posts, because AI is wonderful and that can actually help you do that. And so now you have the ability to take that and actually not even just take the transcript and upload it directly, but you can take the transcript and turn it into like bullet points and all that, like all this great stuff that comes out of your head, and then let AI help you turn it into something really great, readable as a blog post. There you go. So now you have a video and a blog post, and you used your captions to do it. Captions are amazing. And of course, if you're using something else like Vimeo, has the ability to do captions, and like so many different software, that I would say your number ones are TikTok, Instagram. Please, 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 please use auto captions if you are not currently. It's so useful. And then, like I said, you can actually open up your own transcript if you're putting things on YouTube, and then take your own transcript. Now, last little bits of advice before we wrap up today. If you are a business with high information, so I'm thinking about Kim here, where Kim's business is probably giving out PDFs. I actually saw one here at the bottom. Download our retirement guide, 3 pillars to success for retirement planning. If there is anywhere else on your website, Kim, a PDF that people can read, like in the resources section, you have books, vlogs, news. If there's anything in this section that is a PDF, what you need to understand is that e-reading, like assistive reading devices, cannot read PDFs. So when you have PDFs on your website, it's generally speaking not accessible. So you want to make sure that you have that, if it's necessary for people, that you have it in another format. Even still today, most PDFs are flat. Now let's go through some mindfulness things for emails, because I said we're going to talk about a lot of stuff, not just your website. Please use one column formats, because e-readers are difficult. There's like those audio devices are very challenged with multiple layouts. So a one column logical order, again, have SIRI read your newsletter to you. If it doesn't flow, then you've got something in the formatting that is out of order and you need to make it flow correctly. Avoid using emojis in place of words. You can use emojis, but don't use the emoji in place of a word, because the emoji doesn't get read by the e-reader the way you would read it as a word. So you can use the emojis, but make sure that you're not doing it in place of words. If you do have newsletters, don't make them like overly image heavy. Maintain a 60-40 text to image ratio, meaning 60% of the content needs to be words. Same thing with your website, y'all. Do not overuse links. Please, 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 if you're using links, make sure you're using full words. Back to my point with Bobby, make sure you're using a minimum of 14-point font. All of your contrast needs to be very good. And all of that same stuff that I said, like visual cues, y'all, make sure you got those visual cues. Now, last but not least, for any of you who have a physical building, yes, accessibility does reach outside of the internet into your physical spaces. I want you to make sure that you are thinking about how anyone who needs assistance is using your space, and that you're making sure that it is useful to everyone. The idea here again is not to be overly like dependent on figuring out how to accommodate people. That's not what this is about. This is about being inclusive. It is about making sure that we are including everyone, because what did I say earlier? We want everyone's money, not just people who are like us, look like us, and have the same abilities as us. We want everybody's money, which means that we don't need to make assumptions. We need to speak normal. We need to ask if we're not sure. We need to make things as accessible and inclusive as possible. Here are an entire set of resources that are available to you. Any of these websites can help you figure out how to make your website more accessible, in addition to a lot of the things that I said today. And there we are, 8 p.m. Thank you all so much. I rounded that corner like a professional. So in the chat, before you all leave, I would love to know, what are you planning to do with this information? How are you going to use it? What are you going to do? Go ahead in the chat. What are your next steps? How are you going to use it? That's my only price of admission. Score workshops are free. So you got to tell me what you're going to do. What you going to do? Come on, type it out. I'm not letting you go until I find out what you're doing. So you're gonna make your website better. Okay, great. You're gonna read through it. Okay, good, 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 good. You're gonna have an e-reader read it. Kenneth is revamping the website. Works within. Make sure things work within your new website. Fix the images, Janet. That is a good one. Start there. Rewatch. This is a great one to rewatch, y'all. This is a great one to rewatch. Yeah, okay. Yeah, Kimberly, I hope I helped you make it a little bit better. I hope you made help you make it. Yes, yes, you can also have it, Chantrice. That's a great one. You can have AI read it. There you go. Okay, you guys, I appreciate all of you so much. You all got, looks like, a lot out of it. And that's always useful for me. I'm always grateful when you all get a ton out of it. Have a fantastic, I love that AI sounds so much better. It does now. Have a fantastic evening. Gwen, do you want to give them an outro?
Yes, well, you're putting the pressure on me now. I've got to get that website loaded because believe me, Lindsay, when I don't, I get all kind of email. Well, where's the website? When do you have the website loaded? So we'll get that loaded as fast
Yeah,
as we
yeah.
can. And thank you for a great, as usual, webinar.
Thanks, everyone. Y'all have a good evening.